Hey, welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Amazon Files brought to you by Mommy Income. I am Kristen Ostrander, and Amy is not with us today because we're doing an interview, and interviews just seem a little clunky when you have like three people and everyone's talking over each other and all that. So we wanted to just come at you today. Amy's going to be back next week interviewing someone else, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be super exciting. We're going to hear from one of our gentlemen in the Mommy Income group and his success story. But today we have something super exciting for you. We are going to be talking to a fabulous lady that we met in January of this year at one of our Confident Wholesale Bundlers workshops. She has an amazing story, and she is just a really hardworking lady. And if any of you have excuses as to why you can't do business or won't do business or this and that is holding you back, after this, you're going to realize you don't have many excuses left, because Michelle is very busy and she's got kids and she's got business to run, and she moved this year and still maintained her business and all that. So without further ado, we'd love to bring Michelle Maple to the Amazon Files podcast. Welcome, Michelle. How are you? I'm so excited that you're with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're going to jump right in, first of all, and just tell us a little bit about you and your family and your life.
Yep. So I am a mom. I have 4 kids. They range from 21 down to 9. We have our oldest is away at college. Our second is leaving for the military in a couple of weeks. And then we have a daughter in junior high, and our youngest is in 3rd grade, and she is also special needs. So.
Wow, you've got quite a full plate there at the Maple House. So yes. Tell us how it is. Like, what did you do? Because we know we're going to get into your Amazon success story here, but like, what was your previous life? What did you do before you discovered Amazon?
Yeah, so I actually went to school to be a teacher, and then I decided to be a mom for a lot of years. And then when my youngest started kindergarten, I was ready to go back to work. I was ready to do something, but working outside of the home just wasn't really an option. Our youngest has a lot of health issues. And so, what keeps me and you down for a day or two can keep her home for 2 to 3 weeks easily. Mm-hmm. So I started an Etsy business, and it blossomed, and it was super fun, and I loved it. But I got to a point where I couldn't do any more, but I wanted to do more. And so I just started searching for what else I could do. And I ended up hearing you and Amy on another podcast. And I just instantly was like, that's it. And I literally jumped in with both feet, and I haven't stopped. So.
That's so exciting. Tell us a little bit. So I want to go back to the Etsy for a second, because I think a lot of people start with things like eBay and Etsy, which there's no problem, no shame in that. Some people who are super ambitious can do both. But I found a similar thing like with eBay, where I enjoy it and I love it, and I still do eBay, but I also have an assistant that helps me, because without her, I would not be doing it. Right. But the reality is, did you find that like it was a scale thing? So you couldn't really scale it beyond a certain point? Was that what you were running into?
Right. So I was making stuff, and I got to a point where it was, I guess, 2 Christmases ago. Working 24/7, I still wouldn't have been able to do all that was coming at me. And so I got to that point of, if I want to scale this and grow, I'm going to have to hire a team, and I'm going to have to hire people. And that just wasn't really the direction I wanted to go. I wasn't opposed to it, but it just wasn't gelling. So it was just like, okay, well, what for this hour for hour, that I'm putting in, what else can I do? There's got to be something else I can do that is going to make more, or I don't know. It just, scaling wasn't really an option.
Okay to think about those things and think about, is this going to work for me long term? And some people, like you said, if you would have to hire, and what would that look like? And then thinking about, are these people going to come in my house, and are they going to, do, especially if you were handcrafting what you were selling?
Right. Right. So that's where it gets tricky too. It's like, okay, well, even if I hire somebody to package and ship, it's I have to still make all of this stuff. And at some point it just kind of took the fun out of it. It was no longer fun to make. It was like, oh my gosh, I got to get this done and I got to get to the next one. And when you've made 150 of the same thing, it's not as much fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you're making a creation and selling 2 or 3 and you get that first excitement of, oh my gosh, someone likes my stuff and they want to buy it. But then scaling becomes the issue, because then you think, okay, someone else has to manufacture these the same way I would with the same quality and care. And then you have to, so I'm not against employees at all, for sure. I understand that's part of scaling. But when it comes to something as personal as something you're handcrafting and manufacturing, then there's a lot of quality control that comes into that. Right. And then is it in-home or do you rent a space, and how big do you want this? And how can you plan to see it scale? So when you saw the Amazon opportunity, what were your initial thoughts? Were you skeptical, or were you like, no, this is going to be it?
I think because of the source that I listened to the podcast, I trusted it, and I wasn't listening to something, on, some random Google ad that came up and said, hey, you can do this and that. And I think because it was a trusted podcast that I was listening to, I felt like, okay, if she trusts these ladies, then I'm going to trust these ladies, and I'm going to start with one thing and we'll see how it goes. And if it works, then great. And if it doesn't, then I'm back to, I'm back to the beginning, and I'll figure something else out.
For the record, you guys, I don't think Michelle knows this, but she's allowed to say the podcast on here. There's not like rules.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't sure. So
it was from Business Boutique, from Christy Wright, and we interviewed there and talked about that. And so when you're thinking about like a reputable source, that's very true, because I think we hear experts from different places and we see ads and we wonder if this is right for me or if it isn't. And a source does make a difference, right? Of like where it comes from.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that because I trusted Christy Wright and her podcast and the information that she brings each week, I felt like, okay, this is worth my investment, and we're not going to starve if I end up deciding not to do this. It'll be okay. But it felt right. And so I just kept taking one step forward and putting one foot in front of the other.
When was that first step that you decided? You heard the podcast, and then what happened?
So it was summer of, I guess, 2017. 18.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Summer of 2018. Anyway, summer of 2018, I heard it. I literally, when the kids started school, I think it was in July even. So I just started listening to all of your podcasts and scouring your website. And so then in August, when my daughter started school, I started the class, and I didn't start with the wholesale class. I started
FBA Today.
Right. I did start FBA Today, and I just went through each video and I did each step and just kept going.
So you started with retail arbitrage, correct?
I did.
Okay, so tell us about that. What was it like for you to learn about retail arbitrage and jump into that?
So retail arbitrage is kind of fun. It's like, it's almost like a high. You're like, oh my gosh, I found this really amazing deal and I can get this, it's fun. But I think the difference from where I was a year ago and where I am now is that right now it's Q4 and I'm sitting here chatting with you. And this time last year I was like, ah!
Yeah. Running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to find all the deals and fill your cart and
hope that mine got to Amazon first, because if it didn't, the price would be tanked and then I'd be sending them back. And it was fun last year. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but now a year later, my mom and my sister are my business partners. The three of us do this together. And I keep saying to them, I'm like, can you believe this is Q4? We're like just sitting here. We're having Diet Cokes and we're like not running to 18 different stores every single day. And
The reality is with that is that I think retail arbitrage is, and I'm still a treasure hunter. My outlet is that I still do that for eBay and at a smaller scale. And I have someone that I pay to do it for me, because otherwise I would have the dreaded eBay pile or closet or room that
Right.
I like to buy and then don't get to the selling part. But I think retail arbitrage is exciting. It can be fun until it becomes a have to. Before, you're
Right.
just starting and it's fun and exciting, but and then it's all of a sudden like, now we're running a business. Now we have bills. Now we have to pay ourselves and pay all these bills. And now it's like you have no choice whether you want to or not. It's time to go to the store and try to find deals and do all the things. So yes, I totally get that. So what was it after Q4? So you had the fun and you're running around and you were making some money. What was that decision time that you realized this isn't going to work forever?
So I think initially when I started, when I did start FBA today, I knew that I wanted to do the wholesale class as soon as possible. But I also felt like I needed to kind of get in there and just kind of start and sort of try to understand the process. And I guess I called it practice. I wanted to practice with retail stuff and using the Amazon system and all of those things
That is so
before.
wise. Honestly, that was kind of a really good move on your part, just because then you're not investing so much in the learning process, because some
Right.
people can lose a lot of money just figuring out like how to send in a box without it being mislabeled, or just learning a little piece of the puzzle of sales rank and categories and what you might be restricted on. And so that was really wise to just kind of, you didn't delay and wait to take action. You just were like, I'm starting right where I am and this is what I'm going to try. Everyone who's listening, take note about that. We can consume and consume and consume information, and we can say, oh, I don't know all the things yet, so I can't get started. We learn with practice. We learn by taking action. And so if you're on the fence here thinking this may or may not be for you one way or the other, you learn by actually getting your hands dirty and practicing it. So just take notes from someone who is succeeding at this. Okay, so you started and you realized you wanted to do wholesale, and you were kind of running crazy with Q4, making some money, I'm guessing, and kind of
Right.
doing well.
Right.
So it was like that, then what? So what was the then what?
So I actually decided that I was going to go ahead and do the wholesale bundles workshop during Q4 because, I mean, why not? It was already crazy. But I knew going into January, I was like, okay, this is where we want to go. So I want to start now. And so I did the classes. And at the same time, there was a lot of chat and talk about attending your workshop, the live wholesale bundlers workshop. And the first one was in January. And I, in my head, just kept thinking, oh, that would be so amazing to go. That would be so amazing to go. But I never verbalized that. I just, kept thinking it. And so I did the wholesale bundles class, and flash forward to, I mean, literally, like, I think it was Christmas. It might have even been after Christmas. I casually said to my husband, I was listening, oh, your podcast came on. We got in the car and it started, and I said, oh, hang on, I'll stop that. And he was like, well, you can listen. I was like, okay. So you had your spiel about Atlanta, and I was like, oh, I still want to go. I still want to go to that. And he just was like, well, then go. And I was like, right. It's like next week. That's not really an option. It's sold out. I can't. So he was like, well, email them, call them, go. And so anyway, it just was this crazy turn of events that I was like, okay.
Well, that would happen to be that I remember that, because it happened to be a time where one lady was actually unavailable to come. So there was a seat open that I'm glad you asked, because the seat was open to advertise it, because it was like, it's fine. Someone just can't make it. And we usually bump those people to like the next workshop. So she actually didn't join us until the one we just had last week in California. And so, but she wasn't able to come until later on. It just didn't work out. There was some family issues. And so it was, I say God's perfect timing that you called and was like, hey, if there are any open spots, and we actually had that one open up. So but what an amazing thing that your husband's so supportive, that he was just like, hey, go and do. That's really awesome.
Yeah, he's definitely my biggest cheerleader. So it's awesome.
Does he play a role in the business at all?
He definitely has the business mind. So I always am like, what does this mean? Or what is that? Or what's this acronym? Or what should I be thinking about? And he's just always listening and learning. And so he's just a great resource to go to for information that I don't have, that I'm learning as I go.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that you have, those resources. I know some husbands or partners out there, people are like, I want nothing to do with it and I don't want to talk about it and I don't understand it. And other people are, you can be supportive without being involved is what I say. So
Sure.
everyone out there just thinking about, your spouse or your partner or whoever's with you and, friends, moms, sisters, doing this alone is really hard. I'm just going to be honest. It's hard. I did it alone for many years and then brought on my mom as a partner, and I just couldn't be happier. I mean, in the beginning, let's be real. You and I have talked about this before. You take pay cuts. You have to make bigger decisions. You have to become a leader when you have employees or partners or team members. But the benefit will greatly outweigh that because you're not stuck in your own head making excuses or wondering if this is a good idea. You're talking amongst other people, which is so important. I think the level of community, even within the hub, we're talking and sharing ideas and things like that. So
Right.
you come to the workshop in January, right? And how has wholesale bundles, changed your business since then?
So I came in January. I was absolutely blown away. I didn't really know what to expect, but I don't know. It's just one of those things that I guess I keep saying, I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and just kept stepping forward. And so I came home from Atlanta and I called my mom and I called my sister. I'm like, you need to be at my house when I get back from the airport. Like, you are just not going to believe all this stuff. And so we kind of took January off in a way, because we weren't going out and doing the retail anymore. So at that point, we started digging into, catalogs and books and trying to do more research. And we sort of decided too that 80-20 is the rule, but we were at a point where we just felt like we just need to transition and do this. And maybe we grow smaller, or maybe this looks a little bit different, but that was kind of what we decided. So we spent all of January just kind of researching and getting started. And I remember all three of us sitting at my computer the night we made our first wholesale order. We were all like, did you hit the button? Did you hit pay now? And it was like, oh my gosh, I did. Like, it was just crazy. But so we started, and then each month we just kept growing and doing more. And
how many, like this is a question we get all the time in the Amazon files of like, how many bundles should you make or expect to make per week or per month? Like, what do you feel like your pace was? Do you feel like you paced yourself well, or did you like overwhelm yourself and have to scale back? Like, what was your guys' pace for choosing new bundles?
So we were definitely on overdrive. Our brains had so many ideas that our bodies could not keep up with them. We were, oh, here's one. Oh, here's one. Oh, here's one. And I guess another thing that I should share that we did that is slightly, I guess, different. We did a lot of retail bundles to start with too. And again, it was kind of that practice mentality, like, well, let's test this and let's practice and make sure that what I heard and what I'm doing are, lining up. So we did a lot of retail ones. Well, it's super easy for your brain to just go crazy when you have hands-on versus when you're looking online. You can be a little more tame and a little more in control, and you can say, I don't need to do 6 bundles today. I just need to do 1.
Absolutely. I think that's a great advice because I think, that's part of it, right? You're at a live event, you're learning things, you've got all this stuff, and you just, for me at least, it's like, I can't wait to put this into action right now. And
right.
I want to do all the things in the beginning. I'm a quick start on the Colby for anyone that knows that. And so it's just like one of those things like I have all the ideas. I want to do them all right now. And it's also great to have that person to say, you can't do everything all the time. Pick one. and start with one bundle and see how that works out. Even if you want to do all the things, for my idea people out there that are like me, I'm so afraid that I will forget all the great ideas that I have, that I feel like I have to do them all right now. So instead, I now have this sticky note thing in my phone that, like, if I have a great idea, but I know I can't execute it right now, I record it. So that I know in there, even if it's voice record, voice memo, I do that in Boxer sometimes too. I like talk to myself and I'm like, don't forget you need to do this and that. It's like not it's not like 911 priority task type thing, but it's like, this idea is great, but I can't do it right now. When can I do that? And so having a miscellaneous day on your calendar to where you can explore all the ideas that you didn't get time for in the process. So for all of my idea people, find something you can record your ideas on, because I promise you, if you're anything like me, you're afraid you'll forget this great idea and then, all the things. So write it down somewhere and then stay focused. Okay, so you guys, started with some of the bundles, retail bundling. I feel like that's a great place to start, especially if you're practicing and you're new and you want to put it out there. Sometimes the trouble with that is you go to a lot of work to create a retail bundle and then it's sold out or discontinued or you can't get any more of it. And, creating listing is no small thing. So to be able to do that and then not be able to replenish it, but it's still really great practice.
Right. It was really good for us. I felt like we really learned a lot. But it is a lot of work, and it's not the smoothest path, for sure.
But see, we learn from the bumps, right? And I love that you said that, because I think there's a lot of, misconceptions out there about any business model. Guess what? There's nothing perfect. You're gonna, newsflash, you're gonna have to learn and do work in order to make money. It doesn't just land in your lap. This is not a set and forget it. But the harder work depends on what you like to do. We still have people out there who love doing retail arbitrage. And as much as we're talking about how it's nice to not be in the stores right now and it's all crazy, some people thrive on that craziness and they love going in and they love sourcing every single day and it gets them out of their house or whatever. So to each his own method. But if you're going to do something long-term, make sure that you can sustain it long-term and then train other people to do what you do, because eventually you're going to get so successful and you can't do everything in your business. I mean, like, look at people, I always think like Steve Jobs or like Oprah or like somebody who has all these things. Like, they might be the forward-facing person you see, but behind them is a team of people that make everything happen. And that eventually will be you. If you want to grow a sustainable, scalable business, you're not going to be able to do all the things forever. So that was very forward thinking of you guys right away, even after a few months. And you're like, well, this is great and fun, but we're not going to be able to do this for a 3-person partnership and make money for long term.
Well, and I will also say that for those that are, scared to fail, I think we would put out like 5 bundles and, one of them would do well. And the other 4 would be like, oh, what did we miss? Or what did we not get right? And it's a process. Like, you're not just going to know all the things the first time, and you're not going to know all the things if you don't take that first step and try either. So I think that you have to start somewhere and you have to know that there's going to be a learning curve, and hope that you can learn from it. So we feel better now when we make our wholesale purchases from those lessons, I think.
Yeah, that is such great advice, because again, we're always about getting real here, you guys. We know that we're always telling you the truth, even if it's not sexy, because guess what? My business isn't always sexy. Before we even jumped on here to record and we were just chit-chatting before this interview, we were talking about some of the struggles that are real. There's a lot of stuff at any level that you're at that it's, you're working with Amazon. And guess what? Amazon likes to change things whenever they feel like it, and they don't often give you warnings. And then you have to kind of troubleshoot what's happening, because what worked 2 months ago may not work anymore because they decided to change something, or they changed a fee that now is eating into your profit. Or now, how many times they've changed storage fees? Like in Q4, for these you guys that don't know, maybe don't pay attention, it's 4 times the storage fees from October until the end of December. So they want you to move product and move faster. And it would be nice if they could help that, moving it faster. I mean, that's sometimes out of our control. But the reality is that this is not all sunshines and rainbows. It's not all, yay, yay, we're all winning all the time. We tell you the truth here because you're in business, and business has hiccups, and business has struggles, and it has issues. But we at the Amazon Files do not want to leave you alone. We are here to support and help you because we understand the struggle is real, and we want to make sure that you feel supported and helped during and while you're running your Amazon business, whether it's big or small. You're going to hit bumps in the road, and just know that we're here to support you, but we're not going to sugarcoat it. If something's bad, it's bad, and we have to learn from that. So Michelle, tell us how you're able to do this, because a lot of the typical, like the stay-at-home moms or the stay-at-home dads or people that are working what I call between school hours. So you're keeping school hours. Your daughter goes to school probably around 9, and she probably gets out around somewhere around 3 or 3:30. So you're literally working with this little window every day.
Right.
Tell us how you kind of able to accomplish what you're accomplishing during this smaller window of time that you have to work with.
Oh, I think that it's just like any job. You're setting your goals, and you're setting your plan of attack of what do I need to accomplish, whether you're a daily or an hourly or a weekly, however you set your goals. I think that you just have to, you have to have your goals set so that you can reach them. I also think that as a entrepreneur, you have to be willing to give up some things. I give up a lot of sleep to work. I get up super early to get things done. And I used to stay up late, but now I've kind of switched. But I think that you have to have a plan, and you have to be willing to hold yourself to it. Of course, it's great that you have the flexibility that, you can change and you can do things different, but at the end of the day, it is a job. And I have all this inventory at Amazon, and if it's not selling, then that's a problem. And so I have to deal with that. And, but it is a lot of work. It might be easier to go and punch in at 9 o'clock and punch out at 3. I think you just have to know yourself well enough to know what you want out of it.
And what, I'll speak to that too, because I think I just appreciate you being so honest, because it really is true. As entrepreneurs, there's always something that you're trading for what you have. And same thing when we talk to the other Michelle, we call Michelle 1 and Michelle 2, right? Because there's like a lot of Michelles in the hub and in the different places on the Amazon Files. And so the reality is that you have to decide what's worth it to you. Because I remember in a part of her story, we can put the link below this video to Michelle Butler's story. And she left her, really high paying 6-figure job because what she was sacrificing to have that was time with her son that she decided it wasn't worth giving up for. So we give up something for something else. We're always going to be making sacrifices. It depends on which one. And it sounds like you've decided that it's worth it to you to be able to be home in case your daughter is ill. Because honestly, if you were punching in and punching out somewhere, even if you were making the same money, you might not have the same flexibility. You might have to take a job. Right. I'm sorry, my daughter's home for the next 3 weeks because she's, ill, and I have to be able to be here with her. And, that's something you can work around. But if you're, working the 9 to 5 or something, they're not going to give you that kind of freedom and flexibility that suits your lifestyle. But we don't say freedom and flexibility like we're just sitting around watching Netflix all day and everything's happening. We're working during those hours. The freedom comes with the choice that we can decide when and how is the best fit for us. Sometimes I work evening hours because everyone else goes to bed. My husband's like a super early bird. He has to be at work at 6. Sometimes he has to get up at 4:30, and I don't want to speak to anyone at 4:30 in the morning. And so I'm more of a night owl. I prefer the quietness of like the 10 p.m. to midnight when everyone else is like in bed or sleeping, or it's quiet and I can, get some stuff done, where some people are super energized in the morning and they can get up at 5 a.m. and they run circles around the world before I even get out of bed. And that's great. But that's the freedom and flexibility we have. But make no mistake, we're working, and we're working daily, and we're working sacrificially to have the lifestyle that we want to have.
I think it's also important to note that, we don't work just 9 to 3. I mean, it's not just 9 to 3. It is a lot of hours, and it is a lot of hard work. It's not going to happen without it. I don't even know if I should share this. Like, somebody's probably going to have me committed, but I have one day a week where I get up at 2:30 in the morning. Because those are like my favorite days of the week, which is absolutely crazy, but I get so much done on those days. It's like, by the time it's time to get my girls up and start getting them ready for school, I'm like, sweet, let's start dinner too, because it's been a full day. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just appreciate that, because this is the stuff everyone posts their highlight reels on Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and all this kind of stuff. They have on there this highlight reel, like, oh, look at these great numbers and look at this growth. We're being honest and saying that this is work. This isn't a set it and forget it. And we are sacrificing things on the back end that people don't see to make this work. But what we're gaining, not only with profit, but also with our time with our families and what's important to us, that's what we're unwilling to budge on. So we're willing to lose a few hours of sleep, drink a couple more cups of coffee, whatever it is that we have to do to be able to protect the time. Because you have grown children as well. So the time goes by really fast. And there are times in my life when my kids are grown that I can kind of do whatever I want to do, but I don't want to waste the time I have with them, because I know I have a 19-year-old and he's gonna leave the nest sooner than later, and that really makes me sad. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have much FaceTime with him yet before he's out and doing his own thing, and I know I'll miss that. And so knowing that I have a 9-year-old and that, I'm thinking, I just don't want to waste these years, and I have plenty of time the rest of my life to really do business. But I make sacrifice. The other day, I'm not a morning person. Everybody knows this, but I got up at 5 a.m. the other day when my husband left, because I knew my daughter had a half day of school. And if I needed to get all my stuff done, I needed to be up early in order to have the half day that I could, just have that time or whatever else. So
that's kind of how my morning shift started too. We went into summer mode of having kids home all day, every day. And I was like, oh, when I started this in August, I kind of forgot that June, July, and August, they're going to be here. And so, about April, it dawned on me that, oh, what does this look like for June, July, and August? And so that was when my early morning started, that I could get up, and if I kept them up a little bit later at night, they slept a little bit longer in the morning, then I could block that time together and get what I needed to be done before they were even up, and then we had the whole day.
So when you're doing that, have you hired anything? Have you made your life any easier as far as some of the stuff that you've done to maybe outsource other things so that you could work more on business? Like, have you taken any of those steps to help your scalability?
So I think that because I have 2 business partners, I'm in a unique situation. So I have my mom and my sister. So I'm the ringleader, the circus master, if you will. My mom is really great about packaging and bundling it all up. So she's kind of our prep center. She puts it all together. She does awesome, and she loves it. She does great at that. My sister, who works full-time and then is doing this part-time, she has become like the business administrative and the VA and all the things that, she does all of our trends, and she's doing all of that. My mom's doing that. So I'm not hiring it out, but
you are sharing. You're sharing responsibility, and you're also sharing the profit. So that is outsourcing. You're just choosing to do it in a different way, so that the workload is spread throughout. So so you add wholesale bundles, you have two business partners, and it seems like you've got a handle on who's doing what role and different things. So how has that really helped you to scale this past year? Because we're going to get to some of your goals and your numbers and what you've hit here.
Sure.
How has that
Yeah.
helped you to be able to just take this thing from January and run with it?
I think that writing down your goals and knowing what you want out of it is important, because even if you don't know how to get there, you're going to lean into it, and you're going to lean into a path that carves that out if you have a bigger goal in mind. So last year in January, we set a goal and we had no idea if it was doable, if it was attainable. We didn't even know how we would do it, but we were just like, yeah, this is the number, this is the goal. We put it on the wall and we just started digging in. And every time we'd get one bundle researched, listed, done, sent in, we'd be like, great, let's do another one because we got to get to that goal. And so we just kept going with it and pushing. And, but I mean, not 24/7. We're not working 24/7. We're still enjoying life, but we're focused and working hard. So
yeah, that's such an amazing thing. You know, we're going to talk. There's another episode coming up in the next couple of weeks that it talks specifically about, you know, you can use the word goal if you like, but it's also that in a perfect world scenario. And I talk about it in my book and kind of walk through what that looks like. And part of that is a realistic goal, but it's also just, like you said, we didn't know how we were going to get there. We just put one foot in front of the other. We just step small. We take that one small action to get there. But in the research, I can't even say research these days. In the research that I did about some of the goals and goal settings, just writing it down, even if it's crazy, even if it's big, even if you have no plan, not plan, but like, no, we want to get this goal, but we don't know what the steps are, and we don't have this 5-year plan, anything else. We just literally wrote a number on the wall. And that's kind of, I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not dumbing it down to that, but you did that.
No, that's what we did.
They say it was this Harvard study that they did, and they followed these people for 10 years, this graduating class. And the percentage of those who actually had written goals, even if they were audacious, even if they were way out in left field, even if it was something crazy, they earned, 10 years later, they earned 10 times more income than the people who had no written goals, even if they had goals in their head. And they're like, oh, I have some goals, but they didn't write them down. There's something mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically attached to something that you write down. Hence the reason that I'm still a paper sticky note, like this is me and my craziness, right? I still write things. There's nothing against digital. I love digital and I digitize all my things eventually, but like there is something physical that happens when you write down what your goals are and then put it somewhere. Even if it's hiding at the bottom of a notebook, you wrote that on a sticky note and put it somewhere. You took ownership of that. And so tell us, how's that working out for you?
It's working. It's crazy, but it's working. So yeah, I actually still have the piece of paper. It was literally a piece of scrap paper when I would cut out my labels to ship Etsy orders, I would still end up with a half a sheet of paper. And so I kept it to recycle and reuse. And our goals are literally on the back side of an old shipping label. And it's now laminated and on the wall. And that's the goal. So we just know.
How are you tracking with that now? Because that was in January and we're now in December. Yeah. So how is that looking?
So we set our goal. So last year, when all was said and done, we did October, November, December. So we basically did Q4 and we did, I think, about 25,000 in sales. And so we were like, okay, well, that was fun. That was awesome. So, we started talking, well, what does the income need to look like for this to be worth it? And what do we all want to get out of it? And so we did kind of in a perfect world, what's the long-term goal? We don't need it next year. So we started there and then we backed it up. And so in January, our goal was to do $100,000 in sales this year. We weren't focused on profit. We weren't focused on, what else do you focus on really, right?
Yeah.
profit. That's
So
what we
your
want.
goal was
But
really to just then, if I'm doing the math right, you thought if we did 25,000 in Q4, next year we'll be working all 4 quarters. Let's see if we can get that every quarter, right? And so
right.
you said
And
$100,000 in goal in sales. So what does that look like as of today?
well, two things. One is my naiveness shows in that moment because I took and multiplied Q4 results and said, oh, yeah, we could do that in Q1, 2, and 3 as well. Totally. Why not? But yeah, so we wanted to do 100,000 in sales. And I guess I'll just share this too. Our rationale of not focusing on profit wasn't that we wanted to lose money, but we wanted to know that we could sell stuff on Amazon. We wanted to know that we were understanding the classes, the methods, the trainings, and we thought if we can't sell anything, it doesn't really matter. So our focus was we want to make 100,000 in sales and hope that we make, paychecks and roll money and all of that. So anyway, I looked this morning because I knew you were going to ask and where we are in our goal, and we still have a whole month left, and we're at 96,000.
Oh, you know you're going to get there and then some. That is so exciting. And of course, you guys know, because this is a podcast, it's pre-recorded, so we're not quite at air date. Well, I'm sure, we can maybe update it in the show notes that the air date, I'm sure you'll have gone that by now. So make sure you share that like in the hub, like when you kind of reach that. That is so exciting. And you know what? I love your transparency about that, because there's some people out there cringing right now saying, what do you mean you didn't care about profit? Let me be frank with you guys. I've been working with Michelle for a while, and I know that they're profitable. It's just not their focus. They are making profit. That's not what they were really focusing on. And I think that's so important. People sometimes want to just jump right in and think that they can just make millions and retire at the end of the year with all this stuff. And let's just be real. It's not that simple to just do. This is a real business, and it's a real business model that not everybody does, because not everybody wants to put this type of work in. But the reality is, if you do it and you practice, you get better at not losing money. You don't just jump right in with both feet and spend $10,000 on all the inventory and then make a bunch of bad bundles. So as you're learning and tweaking and growing, how do you feel about this Q4 now that you've entered the second one in with a new business model and you're balancing all the different things you've learned? Like, how does this Q4 feel for you?
Well, this Q4 has been amazing because we did all of our Christmas research this summer, which was crazy. I mean, if you had told me a year ago I'd be doing that, I would have said, yeah, right, you're crazy. And so we bought a bunch of stuff, and I mean, I'll just go ahead and be honest with that too. When it came in, we were like, "Ooh, I hope it sells. I don't want this."
That is so funny. Hey, remember, we don't sell what's cute. We sell what sells, right?
True. So, but I kind of thought maybe it would be cute too, but it wasn't. So anyway, it all came in, and I don't know if I ate for a month, literally. When this all came in, it was huge. It was so out of my comfort zone, but we made this huge order, and we ordered enough. I think we did we did 20 to 25 of each one, and we did about 10.
Okay.
Oh, that felt huge for us.
That is pretty huge for that, but you guys are super ambitious, and there's three of you, so
that felt huge. So we did it, and we had them all shipped in like before. We shipped them all in October. Mm-hmm. So it kind of felt like, oh, wow, we had a long time to wait now before this stuff, starts selling and going. So I think out of the 10, I'll go ahead and just keep the transparency model going. We've sold out of one. It sold out really quick. 8 of them are just trickling along, and I have no reason to think we won't sell out of them. And one we haven't sold one of yet.
Okay. See, you know what? That is so real. And it really is real, because this process, the bundle framework that we use in the research process, it works. It really does work. That does not mean that even though we go through all the steps and everything lines up, that we, the Amazon algorithm, button pushers, we just joke about that. That's not really a real thing. But like the people behind the curtain, that they do, there is some level of out of our control when it comes to selling on the Amazon platform. And so the reality is that is way more realistic. Usually, okay, out of 10 bundles, I love this nice round numbers that we're working with, right? Because out of 10 bundles, you've got some that are trickling in. Now, mind you, it's still early. If these are Christmas-based bundles, it's still a little bit early. And for those of you guys that are just worried about timing and things like that, more and more and more people, customers, are relying on 2-day shipping from Amazon. They don't order as much early.
It's causing us a lot of stress in the meantime, but
yes, it does make it hard for us sellers because things that used to sell out because people were worried about transit time. Amazon makes all these kinds of promises that you can get 1-day shipping. Sometimes you can get same-day shipping. And so people have this level of expectation now that anything they order can come in 2 days. And while that's true, and most of it arrives on time, people are now waiting till later to order things because they can. And years past, if you lived out in the middle of nowhere, you did not wait for 2-day Amazon shipping. You ordered stuff a month ahead of time because you needed to make sure that it arrived before gift giving, Christmas time, or whatever. So I noticed that this year for Halloween. I have many of Halloweens where I've sold many, many things, and I noticed that people are pushing the envelope a lot farther as far as ordering things. People aren't ordering until like the 27th because they know, I've got 5 days before Halloween. This will get here in plenty of time. And they're ordering later. So take heart. Don't freak out. Find something to do with your nervous energy of things not selling. And remember that not every bundle is going to be a home run. Some of them are going to have that trickle in effect and slowly sell through. And you'll see if it's, this is different seasonal versus evergreen because the same type of thing. We can't expect everything's going to get there and sell out like bundle number 1 because that's always a bummer in seasonal when you can't reorder. For evergreen, it's the best.
Well, and it's hard too because you don't always know which one. Like, you just don't know. But
the research points to the fact that these are good investments, and that's what we do. But are they guarantees? Just like your investment account that you have anywhere else, nothing is guaranteed. There's things out of our control that even if we do the best research, hello me, this has happened. You can do the best research, but the best listing out there, have great pictures, and you have no control over what can happen after that. You have no control over 5 other people creating a similar listing, and now you're all saturated on page 1 when last week there was 0 sellers. So take heart to know that we just keep moving. We keep looking at that and say, okay, this one did really well. Now, that's what I would suggest to you. Here's a little on-air coaching. That one that you sold out of, now I'd be thinking, since it's seasonal, can you duplicate that for Valentine's Day? Could you duplicate that for, I don't know what type of product it is, and we're not going to get into that, but the idea of this combination of products, would this work for any other season? Is there an evergreen option? And start thinking about those types of things. Why reinvent the wheel? If this one did well, would it do well in other spaces? Sometimes the answer is no. If it's a stocking bundle for pets, it's not going to do well in June. But like the idea there is, if you do have some research that you're using, make sure you're forward thinking about, would this combination or idea work for evergreen or any other holiday? Because why do the research twice? Right?
So I'll share a funny thing. So last January when we were doing our goals, one of the things that we had talked about was one of the niches that we had kind of fallen into by accident because it was profitable, and we were like, oh, it's profit, yay. But then we were like, it's a lot of work. Well, we've kind of had to stay in this niche because it is profitable, but we did exactly that. We have an evergreen, and then we had to transition it for summer, and then we were like, hey, I bet we could do something with fall. And then we're already working on Valentine's Day now too. So it is true. Like you can really take one load of research and spread it out throughout the year. Not on all of them, but
but we teach that in the course and in the workshop and things that like, don't make this harder than it has to be. If you find something that's working, find a way it can work slightly this way or slightly that way, or if it's one thing you can take out and put in, because we love seasonal, but evergreen is the meat and potatoes of what keeps you going, because believe it or not, there are times when there isn't a holiday or a specific season where people are buying certain things. So those evergreen products that kind of go in the mix of that is something to be thinking about. So what do you feel like, just kind of wrapping up here, like what do you feel like? You have done all the things. And so although I appreciate that, I know that it's part of your success, that you have decided that education was really important to you. And, talk a little bit about that, because you've taken the classes, you've come to the workshop, you've done some coaching, you're in the hub. And how is that helping you get to these goals in a timely manner?
Well, first of all, I think that when you jump into something like this, you don't know it and you don't understand it. And you have two choices at that point. You can find somebody who's done what you want to do and try to model their plan and learn from them. Or you can get on YouTube and you can watch video after video after video and try to piece it all together. I think you have to decide what you're most comfortable with. I think for me, education was key. I had heard the podcast, decided this is what I wanted to do, and I took the first class and I found success. So I took another class and then I found more success. And so I think that you have to invest in what you want to do. If you're not investing in it, then honestly, you're probably going to get out of it what you're putting into it. You can jump in that, little hamster wheel and spin and not get anywhere. And definitely in the Amazon world, you can spin for a long time. And I think that that's why so many people get out of it is, they're not willing to invest in that education. You hear people all the time of, well, is this really worth it? And well, what am I going to get out of it? And, for me, no, you're not going to get, here's the ASIN and here's the SKU and chip, put it on your listing and sell, but the tools to go bigger. I mean, really, if you're given the one thing to sell, you're not going to know how to go outside of that. So education is key. And I think that, I can't say enough about your class. I wouldn't be where I am without it. I have literally done all of your classes, I think. And then, yes, I've done some coaching with Kristen. I'm in the hub. I think that you get out of it what you put into it.
That literally is the bottom line, and it's so true. And it's okay if people you have our full permission, anyone out there listening, anyone watching, you have our full permission to not go and do all the things. Some people want an Amazon business to give them an extra $1,000 a month so that they can go on retreats or pay for the kids, basketball lesson or just whatever it is that they're doing. And they just want a small business that they can supplement because they don't want a huge operation. And then there's some people who do have big goals of I want to retire my husband early so that he doesn't have to do construction for the next 20 years or whatever. And, we have different bigger goals that we're working towards because that's what's worth it to us. But by all means, no one has to do the same different business model. What you will expect to do, which I think is the hard part we hear in some Facebook groups and out there in the Amazon space, is that if anyone's promising you that this is like a set it and forget it or something that's easy, they're lying. It doesn't have to be. There's a difference between simple and easy. There's a difference between, just working and working tirelessly. It's one thing to work and then get your success. And that's what we're finding is that if you learn and if you do the process, you will reap what you sow. You will get what you put in, but you're going to have to put in. Don't expect, don't expect $1 million result on a minimum wage effort. That's not what you're actually going to get. And so putting it in and really realizing that if you want to get to that next step, what got you here won't get you there. And so what got you to retail arbitrage, and then you realize this isn't going to work forever. What's this next step? Same thing for us. We're not always going to be doing the same things all the time. And so I'm constantly in a state of learning. I invest in mentorship. I invest in tools. I invest in coaching. I invest in, it's funny that I have dual screens that I'm working with. And over here as I keep wanting to turn the screen off because it's kind of got this flashing button at the bottom. It's a class that I want to take. And I just have to decide if this is the right time and the right place to take this particular class. And so same with me. I have a budget of my business income every single month that is used for investment. I don't always use it. Sometimes I save it for a conference or a class of some sort, but I still have that money set aside every single month for growing, because I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't constantly learn what was the next step. And so, that was one of the reasons we created the hub, because after the workshops, people were like, well, now what? Now I have all this information and this is more advanced than some of the other stuff. So how do I get that next level of education? And so the hub was birthed out of that, because we wanted to serve people like you that are growing and changing and need things like brand registry. And like, I know you mentioned trends earlier, and I love that you're using that because it's such a great tool. The trends report is something that we created inside the hub that we've been using in our business for like 3 years, because it's got to be a way to keep organized and see what's coming and going in your business. And those are like those next level things. So anyone's listening, if you've taken the wholesale bundles course and you've taken, or you've taken a workshop, then well, it's wholesale bundles is required for workshops now anyway. So if you're a wholesale bundle student, the hub is the next level education space. It's a monthly membership. We do Q&As in there every single month and have another extra training that we do. So now there's like a library of however many things, like 14 or 15 different trainings. Plus every month we do like a Q&A, live Q&A session. So that's a place you can go to get further education without just this ongoing stuff. And it's member driven. People like Michelle come in and say, I want to learn about brand registry. And the next month there's a training for brand registry, because we want you guys to know exactly what you need to grow, because the struggle is real. I want there to be anyone listening. If you're creating a membership program, I want one like that I can tell you, this is what I want to learn. And then you will give me the training. So we give you guys what we want. So any final thoughts to share? What would you say to someone that maybe they're still on the fence about Amazon, or maybe they're just starting like you were before? Like, what would be like one solid thing you say, make sure you do this?
I think that for anybody who is on the fence and thinking about jumping in, I think that you definitely need to find that mentor or that role model. You don't have to know them personally or, be connected neighbors or anything, but you need to have somebody that you're striving to follow that is doing the things that you want to do, and you need to invest in what they're offering to teach you. It's no different than going to college or, going to a trade school or taking a conference. Everybody has to learn from somewhere. And, I feel like sometimes as entrepreneurs, people think that they don't have to invest in their education, or they shouldn't have to, or, because they're not being paid to do it. But you're going to get what you put into it. I think that you have to invest in yourself, and you have to invest in the education. I've done in a year's time what, some people are never able to do. And I think it's because of the education. I think it's because I've jumped in these classes, and the hub is by far the most amazing place ever. Talk about living in a world where we want our package tomorrow. Well, we want our answers in 5 minutes. So, come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you jump in the hub and it's like, Kristen and Amy are there, but so are all these other people. And there's people who are, earlier in their journey than me. And there's people who are much further down the road than me. And so I've got access to all of these people, and there's always somebody on. And it's important, because you can't call Amazon and ask them your questions. Hey, excuse me, I was wondering if you could tell me. They just don't answer your questions.
Oh my gosh, what I wouldn't give for a direct line to Amazon to get like real answers. Literally, I would pay through the nose for that. That would save me so much time and headache. I appreciate all the love that you give us. And this wasn't intended to be like this commercial for the hub, but the reality is we all need people in order to grow. We need a place to get answers. We need a place to learn the next step and learn the new thing. So I appreciate all the hub love that you're giving there. For those of you guys who are listening, to join the hub, you need to be a student of the wholesale bundle system. And if you are, you can go to mommyincome.com/hub, and you can learn more about the hub and what we offer in this membership site that we have there. It's affordable and it's high class training. It's where Amy and I spend most of our time because we just want to make sure that those questions are being answered and people are getting this top level of advanced education, because that just makes you more money in the end. So
Right.
I am just so thankful that you were here and that you're able to share this story with everyone. And of course, if you want to be in our Facebook group and hang out there, not the hub, that's the special membership site, but a regular Amazon Files Facebook group, use hashtag busy mom, because that's what Michelle is. Hello, getting up at 2:30 in the morning to crush it. Kudos to you. I'm sleeping, but I'll stay up until 2:30 in the morning though sometimes. So I guess that's the cycle.
There you go.
Is how you join us in our Facebook group. That's mommyincome.com/join us. You need your code word because we don't like spammers and crazy people who want to put ads in our Facebook group. So come there, learn more about that. The hub is at mommyincome.com/hub. And that's for wholesale bundle students, advanced training. Learn more about that there. We'd love to have you. Again, thank you, Michelle, for coming on and being willing to share your story and be super transparent. That's so valuable to the people out there sitting thinking that they're doing something wrong, thinking that, they had 3 successful bundles and 2 that failed. Like, this is normal and it's okay. And I can't thank you enough for your transparency and being able to be here and share your success story. And you must post in the hub when you hit that big goal that you've been looking for, because I know it'll be just a couple of weeks from now. I just know it. So
yes. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all that you've done for me. I can't thank you enough for all the trainings and all the information that you share. I don't want to sound like an infomercial or commercial either saying, go do it. But if I'm being honest, this is the reason I am where I am. And, next year's goal, 200,000. So
go get it, girl. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week on the Amazon Files. Have a good week, everyone.